like don't just join clubs because like you're padding up your resume. Join clubs because you actually want to learn from it. Because at the end of the day, it's a learning experience. And
Hey Mo, how are you doing?
another day, another dollar, another day, another podcast with Arnav. This was horrendous. I tried adding in like extra effects, uh, but like yeah,
Like you tried blurring my face out,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it just didn't
Honestly,
work.
very excited to see you. If you can see the excitement on my face, for like it's driving like crazy.
Your face looks like if someone woke you up at 6 a.m. and took you on a 10-hour hike or something.
That's basically very true. I slept like 5 hours last night, just because of this shit. So
All right, perfect. So last video we talked about last video we talked about the challenges of first-year students in university and how they're transitioning and what are the challenges. I think this video would be a bit more add-on into it and a bit more information onto it. Before we begin, again, if you have any comments, any questions, anything, any suggestions for us, feel free to leave that in the comments. Please like, subscribe, because that's what get us working.
I'm kind of petitioning for putting a paper bag on your face. Like I honestly, this that would work really well. I think that's my feedback for this.
100 likes and
100 likes
paper
and
bag.
yo, yeah, actually we should do it. 100 likes and we should put a paper bag on Arno's face. I would 100%. I would be so down for it. 100 likes. We can make Arno
Yeah.
wear anything that he wants. He has a GI Joe costume with a paper bag. Can you imagine? Woof! So hot when you don't have to see your face. Sorry.
You know what? 100 subscribers on the way.
Damn. Okay. 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 Okay.
Alright, moving on. So yeah, so we were talking about the first year challenges, and well, I think you brought in a lot of interesting insights uh, into what engineering would look like for a domestic student, the challenges
Right.
you face. We touched upon a bit about the international student challenges, and I think we left off with basically mentioning how if you didn't have any financial issues, you would like to live on university.
Hmm.
Um, and, and you of course touched upon the exam aspect. I also mentioned the social aspect of things, basically, as well as joining the extracurriculars.
Right.
So let's delve into a bit about the social first of all, social aspect. What do you think is the social life like in engineering? What are the parties like? Of course, you went to a lot more parties than I did. So
What can I say, man? Being social pays off. Being not a nerd pays off. If anyone's watching this, don't be a nerd. Don't be. Actually, if you're a nerd, just be a closeted nerd. You don't have to come out. No one needs to know that. Kidding, I'm kidding. I think both of us are like,
we're both nerds. We're both big nerds. So
yeah,
let's
like
let's not
I
go
don't
there.
know, I don't know who I'm kidding, but like, parties. Uh, I mean, first year was nice. So I actually met one of my closest friends in first year, and it happened that I met them during soccer.
It's okay. You don't have to talk about this.
No, I would love to. So I'm not talking about you. I didn't. So first year, Arnav was a legend in first year. So the reason why he was a legend is because we used to get these like weekly assignments, and Arnav was a god at solving them. It was Arnav and Harshan and like three other brown gods. I guess like that's what we call them. And these men were like, yo, like we can solve anything. Anywho, sorry, that's why Arnav. He wasn't famous for his partying habits. Or what? If that wasn't abundant or that wasn't clear.
You just
Uh,
didn't see me, like you didn't see me at parties. That's all.
Allah, thank God, my eyes were saved. Um, so parties in first year, but I think this ties into like me making friends. But the way I made one of my closest friends at that time. Unfortunately, we're not that close. So Connor, Dan, if you're watching this, I am sorry. I miss you guys. But so I met one of my closest friends, and this guy was also at the soccer tryout. So I was trying out for soccer, intramural, as Arnav said. Like I was playing sports because like that, I was playing soccer, and that was my way of like um, letting go of my stress. Uh, so I saw Connor. in the field, and we were both trying out, and I'm like, oh hey, I saw you in class, and Connor's like, yo, I saw you in class too, because we are both in track one. Um, Funniest thing, I tried doing a rainbow flip, which is like, you get the ball over your head. I failed miserably. While they were like, yo, we need to make teams. I failed miserably doing a rainbow, and Connor started
Wait,
laughing his ass off.
is there a recording for that? I haven't
Nah,
seen
bro, I
that.
thought you would say any. The dynamic between me and Connor was like, yeah, I would be doing like the craziest skill, but I would fail miserably when it comes to the actual game because I somehow I managed to screw up the basic, most simple passes, but I made like the nicest pass. Like it just I don't know how it works, but like that was me in first year. I think that's so me right now, but like I meet Connor. Connor's like, yo, like we grabbed lunch together with a couple of folks because Connor was living on campus at that time at the Chestnut, which is the engineering residence for University of Toronto. We can talk about it, but it's just basically all the engineering kids used to live there. So Connor's like, hey, me and a couple of buds like are grabbing lunch. Do you want to come over? Like, I mean, we can go to classes together and like we can just. So I go there. I meet Connor's roommate Dan at that time. So immediately I have and we started getting tight because like whenever Connor was there, Dan was there, and they're both in track one. So we would like sit together in all of our classes. Um, while I had Connor and Dan had a couple of friends like Tongwa, TW, and then there were like other friends like Flora, Leisha, like who are not even from engineering, who are also there because they all went to high school together. Eventually, I somehow managed to be like befriend a group of like 8 or 9 kids all in a period of like 3 days just by me making that extra effort to talk to someone while I went to the soccer tryout. So which was crazy for me because like I would not have imagined that, but I ended up doing that. So yeah, I started hanging out with these kids, and like a lot of them, 3 of them, 4 of them were also in track one. So it's like we would always study together. We had the same exact assignments, same exact classes, same exact professors. And Snapchat was crazy. I'm not sure if you remember, but like back in 2015, Snapchat, you take a snap and make fun of the professor by taking a screenshot, which is like I'm so sorry for doing that, but as a first year student, that was my peak entertainment. Sorry,
So,
I think yeah,
a
go on.
small bit about me, I've never used Snapchat in my life.
Every like I see like I mean you think that I'll be surprised, but knowing you, I'm not. Like it's like you would literally not invest in anything. That's not like a smart thing to do because you're like the kind of dude you're like, yo, I just like studying. I like doing that nerdy thing. I like playing chess. I like bro, like, shut up. Anyway,
Yeah.
anywho, so I started going out with these people, and then every weekend it was like, hey, let's go grab KBBQ, or every other day it was like, let's grab dinner together.
Sorry, what's KBBQ for
Oh,
people?
Korean barbecue. Sorry,
Yeah,
Korean barbecue. It's like basically
yeah.
you just get raw meat, you cook it. Basically, you're paying to cook your own meat. That's exactly what it is. But the meat tastes good, and anyone Korean who's watching this, I'm so sorry. Toronto does not have that many good KBBQ places, so you'll be very disappointed.
You know what would be a good interesting video idea for next time? Maybe we can actually like list out all the restaurants in Toronto that
In
are really
Toronto,
good. Yeah.
bro, oh my god, this guy is coming up with ideas as we are recording this. But anywho, so I used to hang out with these kids, and like it was really nice. And we actually had an international, we had an international student in that host friend group, and it was really nice. It wasn't because like we weren't friends with him because he was an international student. We were friends with him because we liked him as a person, and it was a very diverse friend group. It wasn't like, oh, I was the only brown kid, Honor was white, Dan was Korean, Tung was Korean, Flora was Asian. There was another like European dude, Asian. So it was a very diverse friend group, and I think we were just like always hanging out together. Every weekend, Connor and Dan be like, "Yo, like come over." Every Friday, it's like, "Yo, come over to Chestnut." We're all hanging out, and we would go to like small parties together. Um, it was not like anything super like super complicated. We would go to frat parties, or we would go like maybe clubbing every once in a while. And I was not nearly as involved with these people because they lived together. But I think I tried my best to commute downtown, getting involved with them. So that's how I got involved. I started going out for parties and stuff. And it
Yeah.
wasn't like, and also one last thing is like, I don't drink either. I don't really drink at all. I actually don't drink because of my religion. I'm Muslim.
Mhm.
So I don't drink, and I would still hang out with these people. They would drink a lot, but they made sure that they understood that I don't drink, and it's a boundary for me, and they never crossed that line. They never forced me to do them. They never forced me to do anything that I was not comfortable with, and I made that very clear. I was like, guys, I cannot drink, and I'm not going to drink. I have issues. I would not like to break that boundary, and I still got invited to parties. I still had a great time. I think I'm a pretty fun guy. I personally, and I think I don't need alcohol to bring a different side of me personally. That's just like a personal preference, and I had a great time.
Makes sense. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I want to say like yeah, like I like how you just put that in that you're a fun guy.
Bro, of course I'm a
And
fun guy. Hey, one person who haven't had who's like, yo, Mo is so dull. I think me being in your life has been the most important thing. I swear, your partner, I would like to like keep them out of this video, but I would like your partner to know that I have been the best part of your life in the last couple of years. I might be, you know, like the TikTok. Do you watch TikTok, Arnav?
I
Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, there's a video of like siblings, right? Like it's like the older siblings, like, oh, are we like best friends with the younger sibling? And the siblings like, oh, you're my best friend.
don't.
That's good for you. I love that for you, but you know that's the dynamic. Like I'm your best friend, but can't say the same. Joking, I'm joking.
Uh, moving on. So basically, like what I wanted to get at was basically like when we were coming to Canada, like as international students, I think there was a lot of like information being thrown around where there's gonna be a lot of parties, there's gonna be a lot of drinking, there's gonna be a huge group of like there's hundreds of people partying in like a house together.
Hmm.
Like basically everything shown like a very glorified frat house that you see in American movies. Personally, I didn't see that. Um, I had the completely opposite experience, like in terms of like parties, at least in
Right.
Canada. And especially I can say like they say that UFT is not a party school, and like there are other universities like Western. I think there is one in Waterloo as well. I forgot the name. It's
Laurier.
Laurier, yeah, Laurier. And there's a bunch of them that they say are party schools where people do that, and I'm not sure what extent of that is true. Maybe you can provide more information on that. But did you, by any chance, have that like experience where while you were going clubbing, while you were doing that, that you felt like, oh my God, this like is really cool, and this is like straight out of a movie where crazy stuff is happening, or something like
Yeah, I can touch upon that. So I think I went to. So I'm not a party kind of guy. Like
that.
I think most of us in engineering are not. But if you are looking for that kind of experience where you go to like a house party with like hundreds of people, and like I've had that experience too. I just did not like it. That's not something that I particularly enjoy. I don't like super loud music. I also don't really like going clubbing. Like it's just like I would do it with my friends every once in a while, but I don't think that's me, and I it also like goes against my religion to doing some stuff. And there's something in my eyes. Anywho, so there are options like that, and like yes, you're absolutely right. Queens is a big party school in
Yeah.
Kingston University. Kingston University. Queens University in Kingston, Ontario is a big party school. Laurier is a big party school, and these universities are great. But I also have friends who went to these universities and they just didn't want to get involved with this. That's fine. Like there's this huge concept of homecoming. I think a lot of international students like hear about it, and a lot of like domestic students, even us going to high school, we don't really get to see it because we never experienced anything like this. But homecoming is basically the first game of the season, first football game of the season for every universities, and during that time, like the entire cities like Kingston, so where Queen's University is, it just becomes for that one week, it becomes a complete different town. everyone in the town is partying. Everyone, and for that too, Kingston is relatively a very small town compared to Toronto,
Yeah.
and the major like majority of the people there are students who go into Queen's University. So during homecoming, a lot of businesses depend on that, and that's like the huge party culture of that city. Now, it's not the same as Toronto because Toronto is big and like University of Toronto is just in the core downtown. So it's like you can't have a homecoming in the middle of downtown. It
Right.
will block everything. It will just like, no one would support that. A lot of
Yeah.
drinking people, like yeah, and there are incidents. Like I know someone from my high school and who went to Western. Uh, their close friend, this girl who was supposed to go to my high school anyway, like went to a different high school, but eventually went to University of Western. Got I guess like a drunk driver drove over her, and she
Oh
passed
wow.
away,
Oh
unfortunately.
wow. Yeah.
So, like, there are incidents that happen. There are bad incidents that happen, and there are party things that you see in movies and shows that do happen. But I think in shows and TV series, like when what you see about North America, it's very glorified. It really depends on the experience that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I think generally what movies and shows what I found that movies and shows generally show you is like, you're a stereotypical small kid who comes into town, somehow gets attention of like the big shots and you get bullied, you go through all that. Sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes
Yeah.
people just don't care about you enough to like do anything to you. If you want that kind of experience, you can, but you also have the choice to not choose that. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it really depends on the company you keep at the end of the day, right? Like,
basically,
um,
yeah,
you would meet any type of people at any university. It's not like University of Toronto would have all nerds. That's just not true. There are people who will come from different backgrounds who would not study, who would be involved in any number of activities. So it
yeah,
really depends on
yeah, absolutely.
you. Okay. Let's quickly touch upon another big topic that I wanted to touch upon was the social clubs. Well, more so now related to the technological side of things and the opportunities presented to us vis-a-vis being at University of Toronto. Um, I think definitely, from my experience, UFT really provides a um, the diverse clubs which you can actually get hands-on experience with. And I'm gonna ask, like, so let me just mention some of the clubs that I was part of. So I was part of a solar race car team, which was
Mm,
basically um, a university-wide competition globally. Uh, Generally happens once a year in Australia. So all the students in first year, they basically compete. They basically build a solar race car from scratch. So a bunch of people come together from different fields and they create the best car. And we basically compete in Australia, and then we end up destroying the car by the by the last time. And
yeah,
so we do that from scratch again every year. And of course, annually, as you build upon it, your technology, your knowledge becomes better and better.
mm,
And it really showcased to me how a bunch of people from different groups can build something big, use the knowledge that they created, put it in documents, and then really iterated on it to build something better. I think UFT really made about like top 10, top 12, which was amazing to me. Like in the world, top 10, top 12 universities, this included the top universities like MIT, Harvard, but even from like Australia, the Australian National University,
mm,
NTU, NUS in Singapore, and all the big technological universities you can think of around the world. There are other universities. There's Robotics Association we have, which I was part of. There is IEEE, which you were significantly part of. There is another one of the interesting ISTEC, which is a very interesting club that is offered at engineering, which is basically they actually offer students to be in leadership roles across the globe. They send people outside, not just in Canada. You can
mm,
go for your summer, for example, to another country and really be involved in leadership programs, whether it's related to education or something else, to really improve your leadership abilities. And
yeah.
personally, I thought that was so useful Because now looking back, the amount of information I learned about how to work in a company really came from these clubs. Um, and not just like working in a company. Even if you want to own your own startup, if you want to build anything and build even your own project, how to build the most basic version of a project, iterate on it, and learn learn leadership knowledge, how to motivate people, be a good team player. I think those were definitely good skills that I learned from these clubs. Now, these are some of the clubs. Of course, there's the sports clubs and etc. We know that UFT is known for its. I think it's called the paddleboard. I forgot what it's called. The cat.
Iron
Or
Dragons.
Iron Dragons. Yes, exactly. Which is basically a dragon boat, and there's a huge annual competition. UFT is one of the best in it. What do you think, as a first year student, someone coming into University of Toronto, what would you recommend? What kind of clubs should they join based on their interests? Lay it out for me. Let's say there's like 4 or 5 students. They
Mhm.
have all different interests. What do you think? What would you recommend as clubs that they should join?
So Arnav touched upon some really good clubs. I think personally, I think as a first year student, you should really figure out what works best for you. You shouldn't join like every club will come up to you being like, hey, join us, join us, join us. And it's as Arnav touched on, it's a great experience. Like I think so I was heavily involved with IEEE. If anyone knows what IEEE is the Institute of Electronics and Electrical Engineers all around the world. I was at first year I was a director of finance, then I ended up becoming the chair of computer chapter. So I handle all the events. I talked to companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and raised $80,000 for funding, just for funding. And I also managed a team of 20 people to run events on campus, which means like registration, doing all that stuff. I did all of that. So it was a great experience, and I ended up like it helped me so much. Like even the connections that I made. Finally, I actually got a $10,000 scholarship from them, which is crazy. Like I $10,000 scholarship for me was like it was a lot of, as I said, like financially it helped. Like who is giving me $10,000 just because of my involvement for 1 year? I got $10,000, which is it's absolute nuts. Um, I would like to give a shout out to Danny. Danny recommended me and my professor Bond Betts.
Nobody's watching this. None of them are watching this.
Yeah,
But I'll just say,
I still would love to like give the shout out to Olivier Tricot, Professor Olivier Tricot, Bonbet, and Danny because they pushed me and they wrote my application for me, even though I didn't want to, and they were like, "You deserve it," and apparently I did. So, thank you. But going back to your question, as a first year student, I think you shouldn't join any club till you figure out your schedule. Learn how to effectively balance your time. I joined a bunch of clubs. I did soccer because I was like, I need that I need that mental stability because I couldn't study as I mentioned.
yeah.
Um, Once I figured out how to study well, then I ended up I think one of the really nice clubs that you can join as a first year student, which was I think UTAT. UTAT always takes students, and
Can you
yeah.
get more
So
into Utah?
what's UTAT? UTAT is the aerospace team of University of Toronto. Fun fact: they actually launched a satellite into the space. So these guys every year like would do different space competition. They would send out rockets to space. They would work on the propellers. They would work on the different algorithms and whatnot. They would do their testing all the way in Houston, like where there's like open fields and whatnot. So all of that would have happened, and if you're a first year student, it's a great opportunity. One of my friends actually joined UTAD in their first year, ended up becoming the president of UTAD, starting from their second year, all the way till like both of our friends. His name is Ridwan Haladar. This man ended up being the president of the club, so it's definitely doable. You can make significant impact, and you don't have to be a technologically advanced dude. There are different roles. Like you don't have to take on the most technical role. If you're like, hey, school is a lot, and I'm doing a lot of technical stuff in school, do that. Join leadership stuff. There are director of finance, there are director of operations who run different events. And you might be wondering, like, where will that help you? Trust me, by doing more leadership stuff, you will be able to communicate better. Companies will love that for you. I think between both me and Arnav, when I go interview, both of us can solve a coding question that company might ask us. But when it comes down to things like, if like me and Arnav versus someone else who haven't done any clubs, like if they ask like can you tell me what your biggest challenges have been with working in a team of like 5 people? What happened? They can BS their way, but me being an interviewer right now, I know exactly what happens, and like I know what I do when I hear someone BSing like this. That would give you that solid experience of foundation of like working with other people, which is so crucial. I'd rather have a teammate who is not as technologically strong, but can communicate better, saying that, hey, I don't know how to do this, or hey, this is what I know and this is how I can help, but this is what I don't know.
I
Someone who
mean,
can, yeah,
sorry to just cut you off. Like, I'll be honest. Like, at the end of the day, we all want to work with someone we like, right?
right,
I was genuinely like recently I was interviewing for a role for a job because I was switching between different companies. And one of the interviews, the interviewer was basically at the end of he was like, we were just talking about board games, and he was like, "Hey, I really like you. I really want you in the team." And
right.
I'm like, you know what? Like that's perfect. Like put a word for me. And he's like, yeah. He literally showed me his Slack channel, and he showed me literally writing a recommendation saying this person is like someone I would highly love to work with.
Mm,
And in the end, I got that position. And that's not very common. Like, I know it's not very common, but it does happen. And, like, in this case, he was very overt about it. He showed me the channel, Slack channel. That might not always happen, and people might not always express that they like you during an interview. But if you can actually have a conversation with them as a human, not just because you want a job,
yeah,
um, they really like you, and they're like, hey, like if he comes to the company and if he works with me, like we won't just be colleagues, we would be friends. And I would like to work with a person like that, like work seems a little easier if you're working with friends, right?
right.
um, and I think it shows, like even with me and Mohaimen, I think between the two of us, I do go to Mohaimen for tips. Of course, like I am a bit more reserved, and so when it comes to communication, Mohaimen is a lot better. And there is another friend of ours who was in a club called YNCN, which was basically a career network club. And I think almost every one of us went to him for resumes, for interviewing tips, for all of that aspect.
Mm.
And let me give a bit more information on Mindset. It was basically you are talking to companies to come into university for recruiting. So you're basically the club that organizes recruiting for engineering aspect in university.
So, I mean, Your Next Career Network, that's what
Mhm.
YNCS stands for, but they are a great club to be a part of. Like they organize these career fairs where you get to talk to companies. They help you bring doing interviews on campus, like shadow interview prep by actual interviewers. They help you make your resume better. They bring in industry professionals who give you that head up or like that leg up in terms of getting like what are they looking for or how to like land your job, land your internship. It's a great club to be a part of, in my honest opinion. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think what both of us are saying is like you don't have to join the most technical club, like, oh, like I made like this processor like 20 times faster by multi-threading by doing like this and this. Like you don't have to use like all these words, but you can join a club with leadership opportunities which allow you, um how do I explain this? Which allow you to like communicate better, make better friends, understand how to manage people, understand how to deal with people. And personally, I would love a person who is more communicative like that to me than being like, oh, I'm very like technologically advanced, but I don't know how to like say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just to wrap it all up, I would say like yes, there is I don't know hundreds of clubs at this point. I have no idea how many clubs there are. We have mentioned the bigger clubs at U of T here. I would say whichever university you're going to, especially in Canada, let's just limit ourselves to Canada for now.
Yeah.
Make sure you look at all the clubs. There are club fairs that happen generally in almost every university in the first week of it. So make sure you navigate and see all the clubs you're interested in.
Mm.
Do not take this decision lightly. If I personally believe you should join a club in your first year, of course, who disagrees with me, he believes maybe like spending a bit more time before joining a club. Um, but make sure you are doing your due diligence before you join a club. Try to stay in one club. I think like Moon really got a lot out of IEEE, and I mean $10,000 as well, right? Like experience and $10,000 out of a club. Um, so you can get a lot out of a club if you join for a while. But in terms of learning, you really get in-depth experience. Except that I just wanted to quickly shout out a couple more clubs that just are great in terms of helping others. There are a lot of engineers without borders, which is a really great club where you can help out people. Uh, so there are places where you can make a huge impact as a engineering student,
Mm.
helping people who basically need your help around the globe. Um, and then there is, and remember, if you do not have like any club and you're someone who's special, who's definitely done a lot of either in technology or in leadership prior to coming to university, there's always a chance for you to start your own club, even in first year. So do not shy away from it. It's definitely a bigger risk, bigger work. But if you are committed to it, it's definitely possible. And it like not only would it be great for you in terms of your personal growth, I think you really have a chance of making a bigger impact if you start a club at a university. Um, I have a friend who started a club called, which is a small section of another club. Today, over 100 students work on that club and learn from it. So it can really change and impact your life and other people's life. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up? Mhm.
No, I think you touched upon all of it really well. Like I think at this point, my biggest thing is like, as Arnav mentioned, like don't just join clubs because like you're padding up your resume. Join clubs because you actually want to learn from it. Because at the end of the day, it's a learning experience. And I did other clubs. Like I did Tech Explorer for 1 year, and I was the director of finance. Again, for me, the biggest thing that I was looking out at these clubs was like I wanted more leadership experience because I think I had a lot of like technological skills that are coming out of school anyway at the time. Maybe that wasn't the best decision because once I went into work, I was like, damn, I know nothing. um, so I think do figure out what you want to do best. I think don't plan ahead, but just know that these options are there. I think if I could go back, if someone told me that these options are there, I would I would be like, okay, thank you for letting me know that. Now I know kind of like maybe I can plan this way. You can never fully prepare, but you can't prepare any less than by knowing this information.
All right, perfect. I think that wraps up this session. I think we really touched upon the social aspect and the club aspect of being a first year student. I think next session, next topic, we should talk about finances a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, next episode, let's get back here. Let's talk about being like the finances of being in a university in Canada, and yeah, just how you can navigate the money as a first year. Uh,
Like how
depending
I
on
lost all my money by going to school. Uh, Arnav would hit me up and be like, "Yo, we need you at the lab at 8 o'clock." Then I'd be like, "Okay, fine, I'll get Tim Hortons." And then, yeah, by spending all my money at Tim's, and then Tim Hortons coffee place.
yeah.
If anyone didn't know that
Tims,
about
if you
that,
like to sponsor us, we do not mind for sure. Uh,
please don't do that. But, I mean, you can. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it's great coffee. I mean, who's giving me coffee for like $1.50? Like
All
yeah,
right. I think that wraps up the session. I really appreciate anyways, anyone who has any insights into it, any questions, any comments, anything, please leave the comments below. Please like, please subscribe. Um, and yeah, like let's meet you in the next episode.
Yeah. If we reach 100 subscriber, Arnav's putting a bag on his face. So take that.
We'll,
All right.
we'll look into it. All right.
See you
See you
folks.
guys. Take care.